Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips, get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Silent Witness, the cold case podcast that invites you to be part of the solution. Hosted by Christina.
Hello, hello.
And Erica. Hello, hello. And per usual, I don't know what we're talking about. Christina, what have you got today?
Well, we do not have a cold case today.
What?
We do not. I thought I'd change it up
Alrighty.
and switch it up a little bit and
Okay.
talk about a case that had me intrigued, not only intrigued, but nervous. And
Nervous?
yeah, it was personal because I worked in the criminal justice system. It was a complete attack on the criminal justice system.
Like cyber or physical?
Physical. It was the system that, I worked in courthouses in several counties, and this occurred in a county next to the one I used to work in.
Okay.
But the case is about a system that, about the criminal justice system where basically you're doing your job and you pay the ultimate price for doing that job.
Okay.
So let's talk true crime.
True crime today.
True
Got
crime.
it. Okay.
So let's go back to 2013.
All right. That's not that far.
No, just some history back there. So the Boston Marathon bombing occurred. And
Oh, gosh.
made all of us runners scared to run races.
I am not a runner.
George
But yes.
Zimmerman was on trial for the killing of Trayvon Martin
Yes.
in Florida. And that was the catalyst that began the Black Lives Matter movement.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Jodi Arias was on trial for killing Travis Alexander.
Nope. You lost me on that one.
Well, that's a good case.
Okay.
New words such as selfie and twerk were added to the dictionary.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Margaret Thatcher of England died, and Prince
Yeah.
George was born.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
He's that old, huh?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think he just
not
had a
like
birthday. I
20,
think
but like 11.
yeah, 11.
Cute.
So
Okay.
let's go to Kaufman County, Texas. So Kaufman County is
What's
about
that?
30 minutes east of Dallas.
Okay.
The county is Terrell. Is it the bigger city in the town, in the county? Excuse me. In
Okay.
Kaufman County, Terrell is the bigger city, but it is not the county seat. It has a population just under 20,000. You go straight east on I-20, and you'll hit Terrell.
Okay.
And then Kaufman is a little bit south from there, and that's the county seat. And that's about population about 10,000.
Wait, so it's Kaufman County, but then it's Kaufman City within Kaufman County?
Yeah, so the
Okay,
city
that took me a minute.
Kaufman is the county seat, and that's what we're talking about. Is Kaufman, the city.
The
of
city
Kaufman.
Okay. That was
But
a lot
it is
of
Kaufman County.
That was a lot of geography for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
East of Dallas.
it's east of Dallas, and we're talking about the town of Kaufman.
Okay.
It's where you do all your business. You wouldn't do that in the bigger city. You would do that in Kaufman, just like.
Why? Because
jury-
like it's easier to
because
get
that's
in
the
and out.
county seat.
Oh, I'm like, because I go to Gatesville instead of going to Wake. Like, no. Okay.
Well, yeah, but you would go like if you needed if you had any courthouse business, jury duty, you would go to the county you live in. So Kaufman always has a reputation, just like most towns have a reputation. I always joked growing up because, I worked just in that area, not in that county, but the county right next to it. But it was a hub for white supremacists.
Oh, fun.
Of course, methamphetamine, which always goes along with that. But, it was based on reality. I think I saw a documentary, and there was this out in the country, these white supremacists. I can't give specifics on why, but it was a thing.
Okay.
And, the white supremacists did in 2012 vow revenge on law enforcement. This was a warning that they put out that, a lot of law enforcement were kind of keeping an eye out. But the warning sought mass casualties against law enforcement officials.
Why?
Especially in large gatherings. Because they prosecuted a lot of higher ranking Aryan Brotherhood. Aryan Brotherhood of Texas is a prison gang, but they're also out on the street.
Mhm.
Most gangs that are in prison do have a street presence.
Right.
So the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, specifically, one of the largest prison gangs, put out this warning and, let's attack.
So they broke laws,
Mhm.
got caught, got in trouble,
Mhm.
and then they were mad and wanted revenge.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Quick summary.
Yeah.
All right.
But let's go back and let's look at the system. Who ran the criminal justice system in Kaufman County, and give you a little bit of background on them. So who convicted the criminals? Our district attorney in Kaufman, that is.
Good job.
The district attorney, the DA, is responsible for representing the state in prosecuting those arrested for specifically felonies, criminal offenses. Some counties, the district attorney and county attorney are all one. I think that's how it is here in our town.
Okay.
But in most towns, it's separate. You have a county attorney and district attorney. District attorney prosecutes felonies. They help law enforcement with investigating cases. So law enforcement calls them up, say, hey, do we have enough to arrest so-and-so on this crime? And, they give them advice and so forth.
Okay.
The DA obviously plays a critical role in our criminal justice system.
Yep.
They are elected.
Yep.
Everywhere in Texas, the district attorney is elected by the people of the county. And in 2010, a man named Mike McClellan was elected DA, and we'll talk more about him here in just a second.
Okay.
But let's go to his first assistant and close friend, Mark Hasse. He worked closely with Mike, and they were friends. Mark grew up in the Dallas area, and before he even graduated high school, he had a pilot's license.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. He was a thin man, thin in stature. He loved flying. He loved candy, sweets, cookies. That's what he was known for, was loving sweets.
Really?
Yeah, he would just attack sweets and they would be gone.
Fun. Okay. Sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah. He graduated from Texas A&M University and then attended SMU Law School.
All right.
Smart guy. Graduating in 1981.
Okay.
Mark began a prosecutor in Dallas. He worked under the DA Henry Wade in Dallas, who is best known for prosecuting Jack Ruby, who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, who killed John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
Mark worked hard. He worked his way up. Most of the time when you're working in a DA's office, you start low. You start with misdemeanors, low-level misdemeanors, and you work your way up to the highest of felonies.
Okay.
He loved his job. He was really good at his job. Very smart, very good. He prosecuted and put murderers in prison, sex offenders, gang members such as Aryan Brotherhood, Mexican cartel, drug dealers, the scariest of the scary he dealt with. And, you learn working in a courtroom, especially with felons that, they're not, you think of somebody that they'd be scary and you'd be scared of them. And, you learn to move past that. Does that make sense?
No, you lost me. Okay. What do you mean?
So for instance, you have a murderer in
Okay.
front of you.
Yeah.
And I tell you about this murderer.
Okay.
And before you see the person, you're going to have a preconceived notion of what kind of person they would be.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they're not. And you learn to deal with it. You learn to move on.
Okay.
You're not scared or threatened by putting somebody dangerous away
Okay.
when you work in this system.
Because you just get used to it.
Yeah,
You're just doing your job.
doing your job.
Okay.
And even when you get threats and, you just, whatever, you just, whatever. Okay. But again, Mark was tough. He was smart and he did a good job prosecuting. So in 1988, he left the Dallas DA's office to start his own practice, specializing in aviation law. His love.
Look at that. Okay.
In 1995, he had a pretty horrific plane crash.
Oh.
It put his life and career on hold for many years.
Mm.
And it didn't keep him from flying. He did eventually get back up. But in 2010, he decided he wanted to go back to prosecuting, but not in the big city like Dallas.
Okay.
So he decided on Kaufman.
Okay.
And that would be a perfect spot for him. It would be, a more rural. You're still going to deal with bad people, but it's more rural.
Okay.
So you wouldn't deal with as many. You wouldn't have like.
So you're not looking at like capital cases. He would expect.
I mean, you're going to have capital, but they're going to be once every
few and far between.
10 years.
Yeah.
So Mark started his new job, and then a few months later, Mike McClellan was elected. He beat the incumbent and was sworn in as a DA.
Okay.
About 5 months after Mark started. So you got Mark Hasse, the assistant. Mike McClellan was the DA, the boss.
Okay.
Mike McClellan was an Army vet of 23 years.
Ooh, hey.
Who obtained a master's degree in psychology from UT Austin.
Okay.
He was a psychologist, and then he decided, hey, I'm going to go to law school. So he went to Texas Wesleyan.
Oh, wow.
I know. I wish I want to go to law school, but I'm not smart enough. But anyway.
Stop that. Yes, you are.
So Texas Wesleyan is in the Fort Worth area.
Okay.
After graduation, he was a public defender that worked, with CPS, but he also worked with mental health patients because of his
Makes sense.
his background.
That tracks.
Mike married Cynthia, the love of his life, in 1995. Okay. Cynthia, like Mike, had a psychology degree. She worked at Terrell State Hospital. Terrell State, my mom worked there.
Oh.
It is a mental facility. It's rather large, probably one of the bigger ones in the state. But that's where Cynthia worked.
Okay.
She was eventually diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and really nobody knew it until later on. She kind of kept it hidden, but she eventually had to quit work, but it didn't stop her. She was very active. She loved cooking, caring for her family. Mm-hmm. Her and Mike were complete opposites. Mike is a big, burly, tall, guy. Yeah.
Okay.
But he was like a teddy bear,
okay.
just wanted, and Cynthia was just totally opposite, small, but they fit.
Okay.
Their marriage worked. It was good. And they both married a little bit later in life. It wasn't their first marriages. Cynthia had 2 children from a prior marriage, adult children, and Mike had 3 from a previous.
Okay.
And they're all adults. But they were perfect fit for each other.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So again, Mike won the DA election in Kaufman County. Mm-hmm. He didn't have much criminal prosecution experience, but he knew his assistants would. They're the ones that are going to go.
That is interesting. A former psychologist who became a prosecutor later in life. That is interesting that he would win. And he beat the incumbent.
Well, the incumbent, he beat the incumbent. The incumbent, I think, had a DWI pending or something like that. So he was,
Yeah, I don't know. Still.
But it is still a lot to beat an incumbent, to come in as a rather unknown and beat the incumbent. But he, and although he didn't have that much prosecution experience, he knew that his assistants, they're the ones that are going to be in the courtroom. They knew what they were doing. Usually you won't see the DA prosecuting a case unless it's a really high profile case.
Right.
They're doing the office business and
managerial stuff.
Yes.
But you think of them as being like the big gun.
They are.
Right? But then that sounds like Anyway, that's just interesting to me.
And again, they're going to make appearances in the courtroom, but they're not going to actually work on cases unless it's really high profile. But Mark and Mike became really good friends.
Okay.
Often talking, they talk daily in their offices. And when you work in a DA's office, especially a smaller one, I did, even though I worked on the corrections side, my office was in the DA's office because I was a court officer. So I was in court and it was just easier instead of driving back and forth. And they had a little small office for me in the DA's office. We all became friends, and you do, you become friends with everybody in there and get close. And
Sure.
That's what they did. And Mike settled into his new job very well. Everybody liked him. At the same time that Mike was elected, a gentleman named Eric Williams was elected JP, Justice of the Peace, in Kaufman. So a Justice of the Peace, they oversee small claims court, traffic, animal laws, like animal control laws, bail hearings. But they also sign warrants for local law enforcement. And some counties, also the JP will, in some counties, I don't know specifically about this one, they'll go to death scenes and order if they need an autopsy or not.
That'll be under his purview. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know about Kaufman, but I know that in some counties they do.
Okay.
So he was elected around the same time. Eric Williams was smart. He had a normal childhood. He grew up in Azle, Texas.
Azle. Okay.
Often considered, he was very nerdy. I mean, he was, and I mean, he had big goals, and he was really, really smart. He enjoyed the ROTC program while he was in college, graduated in 1989 from TCU with a criminal justice degree. Wow. Okay. He had a thing about uniform and authority, and he liked that.
He was a rule follower.
Yes, but he also liked what it represented and that it made him more respected, I guess, in his mind. Like, if I wore a uniform, you're going to look at me differently than normal. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So Eric began his career as police officer in White Settlement, which is a suburb of Fort Worth.
Oh, time out.
Okay.
That's real?
Yeah.
There are some names in this state that I'm like, I'm sorry, what now? And that has, okay.
Yeah. White Settlement's a suburb of Fort Worth.
Alrighty. And
then he went to work in Springtown Police Department, which is somewhere there. It's a smaller town, I think. I'm not as familiar. Here we go. Springtown is north of Fort Worth.
I was gonna say over by Fort. Yeah.
It's north of Fort Worth in Parker County.
There we go.
Okay. He was soon fired from that job because
somebody liked his uniform too much. I'm just kidding.
No. Eric was very smart.
Okay.
And I'll explain here in just a second. But he was fired for hacking the police computer to manipulate it to show that he was on patrol rather than what he was really doing at a gentleman's club.
See, I told you somebody liked his uniform too much. Not him. Well, him.
Well, I doubt he wore his uniform
the chick.
to the gentleman's club.
I mean.
But again, Eric was very, very smart. You'd think he would know better. He was in Mensa, which is a high IQ society. Yep. The minimum score is 132 to get in there. Unlike mine IQ, which is a 2.
Stop. You be nice to yourself. That's dumb. Knock it off, Christina.
No. Okay. Okay, so back to Eric. So Eric, after he was fired, he pulled himself up and began to study for the LSAT, which is the law school entrance exam. He scored a 163 out of 170. So
dang, okay.
I know.
Somebody's got a good memory.
I tried studying for that, and I got my name right, and I think it gave me a point.
Stop it.
No, it was.
Look, it's not, but it
was
also
bad.
But you're a researcher. Okay, sorry. We're gonna have a little intervention with Christina real quick. You're also a researcher. You're an educator. It's about memorizing case law.
No, it isn't.
And
not
breaking
the LSAT.
it down.
No, it's not.
What's it about?
LSAT is reading comprehension. It's got this thing that's called the games, and it's like, you know how math.
It's logic.
Yeah, math problems, but they're not math problems, but they're about 50 times harder. Yeah.
You know why? You know why you have trouble with it? Because you're telling yourself you can't. Mindset
I
lady.
did try to study for it.
Oh my gosh. We'll talk about
Anyway.
this later. Get back to the case. Oh my Lanta. Okay, we're talking about
So,
Eric, who's
Eric,
a dumb smart guy.
no, he's smart.
No, he's dumb if he didn't get himself. He got fired for
Well,
going to strip
well,
club.
you know,
That's
hey,
dumb.
Hey, come on
It's
now.
dumb.
Don't
Dumb
say
smart
you haven't
guy.
done that. Calm down.
Gone to a strip club? I didn't.
I'm kidding.
I have, but I haven't like tried to hide it from. I didn't get fired over it.
Anyway, so as he was studying, and in law school, he also got a job in Kaufman County as a court coordinator for a judge.
What?
Ashworth.
Ashworth.
Yeah.
That's a name. Okay.
He also went to Texas Wesleyan in Fort Worth and graduated, and then he began working CPS cases.
Okay.
And he was elected the Justice of the Peace around 2010. He did a really good job until something happened.
Wait, I thought the other dude was elected Justice of the Peace.
No, Eric was elected Justice of the
Yeah.
Peace. Mike is DA.
Yeah.
Mark is an assistant DA.
And who's Judge Ashworth?
Well, we're not talking. He just worked for him. We're not.
That's too many people. Cut him out.
Well, we're done. We're done with Judge Ashworth.
Okay.
I was just saying he was a court coordinator for a judge in Kaufman County.
Okay.
Okay. Eric met women on. He met a woman named Kim Johnson in 1996 on a message board. So you got to think in 1996 we didn't have
Tinder.
Bumble and Tinder and
Yeah.
all that. You met, if you were going to meet on the internet, you met on message boards. That's what we had back then.
Okay.
If you had a computer. She was a petite, pretty blonde. She is married. They married 2 years later.
Okay.
She thought Eric was smart and funny. He thought she was beautiful. They both had similar goals. Match made in heaven or hell.
Oh gosh.
We'll see. Okay, so back to the DA's office in Kaufman.
Okay.
Just like any prosecutor's office, Mike and Mark, but Mike, he's the boss, will have to prosecute cases that they are passionate about. They're glad to get certain criminals off the street, and cases that make them say, what the F?
What the F?
Like,
I say that all the time.
yeah, like, we don't want to do this. I mean, and we've all had, in every county you have those cases like, come on, do I really have to do this?
What? I don't get it.
Let me explain.
Okay.
So, for example, in Kaufman, and in a lot of counties, and I've seen this in several counties I've worked in, you're going to have to prosecute and try one of your own.
Well, yeah. I mean, what? How would you not expect that to come up?
Well, because you don't expect somebody that you work with that is a judge or an attorney to do illegal things.
Suspect everybody. No, but I definitely would. That's silly.
So, but it's still, even though you got to do it, you still don't want to do it.
Hell yeah, I would. That's the worst.
And
Somebody
it
who's
is.
supposed to uphold the law is breaking it. You get harsher punishment as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And so this is what happened in Kaufman. So the DA had to take one of their own and prosecute a fellow judge for stealing county equipment.
Stupid.
Again, it's not unusual. We see this in cops and lawyers. I've seen it. I've seen fellow probation officers do criminal things and get in trouble. It's just part of it.
Yeah. People, man. Human nature.
But let's go back to Kaufman. So
Okay.
What happened there?
Don't know.
Eric, the new JP, was not happy with his technology when he took over office.
Okay.
Most counties' budgets, especially back then and now, are tight. And a lot of times technology is going to be the first thing cut, last thing to update. And that's how it is in probation. You have other priorities other than your computer system.
That feels backwards.
It should, you would think, but
right? Increased efficiency would be anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Eric didn't like his computer. Womp,
he
womp.
didn't like, he wanted some new technology.
Okay.
And in counties, you have certain protocols that you have to deal with to request, just like my job, just like a lot of jobs when you work, there's an IT department. And if you're requesting something computer-wise or software or anything, you go through the IT department.
Okay.
And that's, he would start to do that. You have to request it, either be approved or not.
Right.
Eric decided to take a shortcut. He decided.
Well, that's a shocker. See,
he
he's
decided,
a dumb, smart guy.
In order to, even though a lot of his stuff wasn't approved, he decided to take matters into his own hands. At one point, he ordered a certain technology and did not go through the proper channels and kind of got reprimanded, like, hey, everything has to go through us and be installed through us.
Okay.
So,
well, yeah.
He was kind of told,
don't do that again.
Yeah. And in May 2011, sheriff's office deputies came to visit Judge Eric Williams, which, that's not unusual. They're going to have warrants for him to sign. And, I worked with the local JP here in McLennan County as a summer intern, and there was a steady flow of officers coming in to have warrants signed. So that's what they thought.
Okay.
But it wasn't a warrant. It was a warrant for him.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. Eric was taken to an interview room. And the police decided, and I've done this too. So you kind of play dumb.
Well, yeah.
And that's just a tactic. And I've done it when I'm interviewing. You have a role.
Yeah, you want them to underestimate you.
Not just that.
And hang themselves with their own. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to educate you. I'm not as smart as you, and and I did it on a specific murder suspect that I was interviewing, and it works.
Oh God.
It works for the certain person.
Ma'am, even in my job, I play dumb.
Yeah.
To get people to show me their cards. Duh.
Let's see. So it does work. And back to Eric, he was asked about some monitors. See, Eric was seen on video taking computer monitors out of the courthouse. Eric was insistent he took the monitors for county use. But he didn't go through the proper channels, and he was arrested. So basically what had happened is the IT department had ordered some new computer monitors.
Okay.
And Eric wanted some, so he went on a Sunday evening and
stole them.
Took them.
Yeah.
Took them out of the courthouse.
Yeah.
So the DA's office, of course, is going to be assigned to prosecute.
Sure.
A lot of lawyers and a lot of courthouse talk was like, hey, let's not prosecute him. Let's just, he has to give him back. Maybe, listen, it happens.
Dumb. Disagree, clearly.
Well.
Prosecute.
With charges pending, Mike, the DA sent a video to the judicial board, and that's who held Eric's license to practice law, and he was suspended.
Good.
While this was pending. So I think that the reason a lot of people were talking and saying, hey, don't do it because it's just political, maybe get somebody else to prosecute, or maybe not prosecute him as harshly as he could be. Just
Why?
because you're mad at him politically. It was some political thing. I'm not sure exactly what it was.
So there was something else going on in the background. And so they're like, don't make yourself look bad.
Yeah. Yeah. But they thought it was like a witch hunt. Like, but you're going to get.
But he did it.
Right. But you're going to get drama and courthouse gossip and courthouse chatter with anything. And people are going to have different views, and they may be the people that liked Eric. I don't know. But,
I don't. I don't know if that's come across.
But they were just like, okay, have him return the computer monitors, and then, but don't ruin his entire life.
If they were for county use, why weren't they already returned? So come on, shut up. He's a liar and a thief. Put him away.
Okay.
I have zero patience.
So the DA's office did offer Eric a deal, which would have been a misdemeanor. Return the computers, misdemeanor, whatever. Eric, of course, said no because because it would have been an abuse of power charge, and it would have disbarred him. So he wouldn't have had a law license.
Well,
anymore.
I understand what that is. Oh, I mean, what did he expect was going to happen when he stole stuff from his office? Like, maybe you shouldn't have that law license, buddy.
Listen, Eric
No,
thought he was
Eric's
smarter
dumb.
than everybody.
He's a dumb, smart guy. You're just proving my point, Christina.
I know. But a felony, he was facing felony convictions. He was facing burglary of a building and theft by a public servant of
So
property.
they offered him a misdemeanor and he said, no, let me go face these felonies?
Yeah. And all he would have had to do was pay a fine and return the computers, and he said no.
Wow. Okay.
I think that Eric also returned and said, hey, do this. Like, I'll pay a fine, but no conviction, leave me alone, and I can keep my law license. So by now, Mike said no. Peace out.
Good job, Mike. That's my kind of guy. Is he the one that liked all the candy?
No, that was Mark.
That was Mark.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was becoming a very contentious situation now.
In the
Between
office?
the two, between the DA's office and between Eric. You know, the animosity, the disdain, the hatred, it was evident.
Ooh.
So of course, courthouse gossip about the case was growing like any other place of employment. People talk.
Sure.
Mike and Mark were working on the case.
Okay.
With Mark taking the lead in the prosecution. And of course, Mike was going to be in the courtroom and was going to prosecute. It was pretty high profile. It was in the newspaper and so forth.
Okay.
It was high profile for them. It wasn't like nationwide.
Right. But it was a big deal. It was somebody in his office.
Yeah. And any time, and I remember we had a lawyer, I forget what he did, but I remember we had Dallas news cameras outside the courthouse when this lawyer was being prosecuted for something in my county. Mm-hmm. And it was annoying because I was trying to get in and I didn't want to be on
I'm just trying to work. Get out of my way.
Yeah, like move.
Okay. So people are annoyed with each other.
Well, that was in my case, but anyway.
No, I mean like what you were saying.
They weren't just annoyed. They hated.
What?
They were, because they weren't going to budge. So Eric, so now they were going to go to trial. And like I said, Mike didn't often go in the courtroom, but he was on this one. Him and Mark were going to prosecute this case.
I would too. That's a sign of a good leader.
Yeah. So they were at a standstill, both sides, and they prepared for trial.
Good.
So, and as people talk, you're going to have one side, oh, I hate them. The other side, oh, I hate them. So it was a growing bad situation.
My gosh, were they all 12?
That's how it works.
Golly. Okay.
Let's see. And in 2012, the trial began. The head of the IT department stated they received 9 new monitors, and the next day 3 were gone. After viewing camera footage, Eric was caught on a Sunday taking them out of the building.
Okay.
The jury found Eric guilty on both felony charges.
Okay.
And sentencing went to the judge. It didn't go to the jury. And of course, the DA wanted jail time, but instead he got 2 years probation with a stipulation of no firearms, which that's typical in any probation case. You can't have firearms.
Okay.
And you're a convicted felon. That's a new crime. You cannot have firearms. But
and Mr. Man cannot have his license anymore, right?
And he did lose his license. Okay. So we're gonna move past that. That happened, and we're gonna move a year later.
Okay.
To January 31st, 2013.
I'm still waiting for how the Aryan Brotherhood. Are we getting there?
We'll get there.
I'm like, how does this all? Okay.
We'll get there in the next episode. Aryan Brotherhood.
Oh, God, you knew you were gonna do that.
Aryan Brotherhood plays a big role in this. Believe me.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to jump to January 31st, 2013. It was a clear, chilly January day, as chilly as Texas can get. Not this.
So it was in the 70s?
It was in the 60s. Yeah. Like 60s, 70s. So,
okay.
Mark was on his way to work. He had a 9:00 docket. And so most DAs like to arrive last minute. They've done their work, so they just pop in and go to work. Whereas us lowly people have to be there at certain times. But most courthouses have employee parking, and then they have a short walk to the courthouse. So Mark parked his car at his usual spot about 8:40 and began the short walk to the courthouse. Again, this was 8:40 in the morning. He was confronted by a person dressed all in black with a black mask covering his face. After a short exchange, the person shot Mark at close range. Mark was shot multiple times at close range. Of course, this was in the morning, and we were, all on our way to work at that time of morning. If you worked in a court, and I worked in a courthouse then, that's when I worked in Smith County. Okay. But I still worked in a courthouse, and, some of my closest friends were judges and lawyers, and, but back to this. But there were a lot of people out and about.
I was going to say, so there were a lot of witnesses. Okay.
And so others were on their way to work and witnessed the assault. The shooter got into a gray or tan colored sedan on the passenger side and left the area.
Passenger side. Okay.
Another lawyer who witnessed the shooting followed the vehicle, while another lawyer, a separate lawyer, began CPR on Mark.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Paramedics arrived on the scene pretty quick. They took over and body cam of the scene. They had body cam and police cam from the car. Trying to save Mark. They knew who he was, and he could be heard saying, "Come on, Mark, stay with me." Mark was rushed to the hospital where he died.
He was, okay.
So, and then back to the person that was following the vehicle of the shooter. She was trying to call 911, but lost the vehicle. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But everyone in the courthouse, personnel, law enforcement were devastated and shocked as news spread. We're like, what the hell? Like, what the actual F?
Yeah.
By noon of that day, the town was had local, state, federal authorities there. They was just overrun by law enforcement. Okay. Mike was, big tough lawyer. He was the typical Texas guy with the big old hat, cowboy hat, and tough lawman. But he held a press conference. Okay. And I'm going to quote what he said, and you could hear him holding back tears as he was saying this.
Well, he's talking about his buddy.
We lost a really, really good man. He was an excellent friend and a spectacular prosecutor. He has, deep voice. He was matter of fact as he's saying this. I hope that people that did this are watching, because we're confident we're going to find you, pull you out of whatever hole you're in, bring you back to, and let the people of Kaufman County prosecute you to the full extent of the law.
Boom.
So who could have targeted Mike? I mean, anybody.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
He prosecuted criminals.
It's a long list, yeah.
Yeah. Could it have been the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas? Could it have been the Mexican cartel? Next week, we will look at the investigation, the theories that surround this case, and another twist is coming.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So you said this one was true crime. So I thought we were getting the answer today, no. Christina.
I'm going to listen. I got to have some suspense so people come back next week and listen.
All right. Well, okay. So that was Mark who was killed. Mike is now looking for the killer, confident that he's going to catch him. Yep. Eric is still a dumb smart man.
He's just at home chilling.
Maybe. All right. Well, there we go. Well, okay. Well, that's what we've got today.
That's our first. Right. So tune in.
So I guess tune in next week so we can find out what Christina's hiding from us.
I'm hiding a lot.
God. See?
So follow us on social media, please. And especially if you like us doing true crime, or if you want us to go back to cold cases, whatever. But follow us, Silent Witness TX, on all the platforms.
Yeah, like most of them.
Well,
we're not on X or anything.
Instagram, TikTok, and
Facebook.
All
right. Thank you so much. That was Silent Witness TX. That was just Silent Witness.
Oh, no.
Just follow us on What? Bye.
Bye.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.